it's a huge risk for us to go out and acquire a product and bring it to market.
I think in mature industries, you get that. More bureaucracy, more fat, old ways of doing things that don't change quickly.
The best time for anybody to start a business of their own is obviously during chaos.
Hello, Barry Patel. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Myrna. Great to see you.
Yeah, wonderful to see you. I'll give you a quick warning. We have a nice rainy thunderstorm here in Texas. And so if the power goes out, we'll reboot this.
We will do what we have to do. It's beautiful here in Atlanta, though, as you can see, hopefully
Yes, no, wonderful. And you would think in 2026 that we would be able to have constant power in the first world. Not necessarily. Mother Nature still has the upper hand. So
Always.
it's really good to see you and to talk about Galt Pharmaceuticals. You launched this with your co-founder, Wade, in 2016. And you really have two businesses. One is the pharmaceutical company, and one is a franchise company to market the pharmaceuticals. So it's two arms from the same thing. And your backgrounds are different. Wade came from Big Pharma and understands all the cycles, the crazy compliance. When I think about pharmaceutical compliance, I think about books stacked as tall as I am. You know what I mean? The compliance model in healthcare is there's so much. And I think it's necessary, but it's a lot to wade through.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put together this boots on the ground strategy for the distribution of these drugs you're doing. What a great model. You guys met in pharmacy school. So take me back to 2016 when you guys decided, we have an idea, let's try it.
Like most entrepreneurs, we're looking to disrupt the status quo. And with Wade's background in pharma, like you said, in different pharmaceutical company models, as well as myself, I had another company that was supporting pharma companies, insurance companies, and healthcare systems more on the research and collection of data and education of healthcare providers. We both saw the same problems, and the biggest problem being that Big Pharma had gotten too fat and really out of touch.
For disruption.
Exactly. And so when we decided, hey, we do want to start a pharma company, acquire products in, we're going to look at a different way to really get those products out to the market more through a local approach. And so that was our real thought about it. And didn't exactly how it is with entrepreneurs. It doesn't always start that way, but it eventually led to that. But
your plan
from the
can
beginning
sometimes not survive the first day of battle in the marketplace, right?
That's right. That's right.
What all our research told us was this, but we're doing this now. It's a little different.
You pivot, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about AI is the topic of conversation everywhere all the time. And when you have a booming new industry, it can follow this sort of dumbbell model. On the one end, we have giant data centers being built in cornfields for this monstrous giant computer capacity with AI. And on the other end, emerging is edge AI, where people pick up these Mac minis and they keep this closed universe of AI in their small businesses or in their startup opportunities. And so we have the giant opportunity, and then we have the small localized opportunity. And you guys are following that with a localized opportunity. And I think the reason it makes so much sense to be working with local pharmacies, local healthcare providers, a local patient population that your entrepreneurial franchisees are exploring is this low trust environment that we live in post-COVID. And it's not just the healthcare medical providers, Big Pharma. It's the government. We're in the middle of a war of some kind. We have a lack of trust everywhere you turn. So you're rolling up your sleeves and rebuilding trust in local providers, one doctor's office at a time. Share a little bit about how local is part of the success model for your franchisees.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. And again, I think you hit in the right word, trust. The trust has started to go away over the last decade or so. There's been a lot of consolidation with physician practices getting acquired, health systems consolidating. And so when that happens, patients are left out in the cold sometimes. And so that's a whole different part of the trust equation within healthcare. What we're trying to really establish more is through Our pharmaceutical products, number one, they're products that address an unmet clinical need. These are
Mhm.
forgotten drugs that Big Pharma once had, and they just
Mhm.
went away. Manufacturers stopped making them because newer, shinier drugs were out there. And
Mhm.
so we start with that first, rediscovering those that will then reestablish some of that trust that a provider will have more choice, especially in pain management, because the trust has truly gone there because of the opioid crisis. Is my doctor prescribing me something that's going to hurt me long term? And so that in sleep medicine, there's a lot of drugs that cause a lot of bad side effects when you're taking sleep medicine. And so we wanted to start with that in establishing trust with the products we bring. But the second part about going local is very important to trust because larger pharma companies have decentralized sales models that are very fat and bureaucratic and require sometimes sales reps go see all these doctors regardless of what they want. Go give them lunches even if they don't want them. I'm sure they want them. So
Mhm.
we wanted to turn that on its head and make it much more localized. We're a local entrepreneur, and that's where our franchise model comes in to help support the distribution and more the education, working
Mhm.
with those local healthcare providers. We don't work with every healthcare provider. We just work with those that are smaller and willing to be more patient-centric, as well as work with local independent pharmacies that
Mhm.
know their patient better. And then down to the patient level, they won't pay more than actually $45 for a medication with us. The pharmacy will run it through insurance. They'll do all it takes to work with the doctor's office to get that medication through. But that's again trust, right? Because patients are losing trust with they get to
Mhm.
the pharmacy and it's $800, and so we want to avoid that also.
Sure. I think in mature industries, you get that. More bureaucracy, more fat, old ways of doing things that don't change quickly. And then nimble entrepreneurs like yourself hire a band of other nimble entrepreneurs. It's so very American that you're going to go get this posse of entrepreneurs to be franchisees and say, let's go solve this problem that's been existing. Doral was your sleep drug, and you found a Dallas manufacturer to make it for you. And it just makes so much sense from an entrepreneur standpoint to reactivate, reinvigorate perfectly good drugs that produce a result. But
Mm-hmm.
from an enterprise kind of perspective, a $6 billion pharma company, we have the guys in the green eye shades and the sharp pencils saying, there's no margin on this drug, and we've got a new drug in the pipeline we're going to earn $100 a tablet on. So we're
Yeah,
going to just put this one on the shelf because they run a business.
right.
And your boots on the ground in local communities serving patients,
Mhm.
which is not $100 tablets. You can find a generic drug that you manufacture that is available at affordable price that produces the result that the healthcare
Yeah.
provider and the patient are looking for
Right.
affordably.
Sure. Let's start with Durell. It's a huge risk for us to go out and acquire a product and bring it to market.
Yeah.
And it's a benzodiazepine at that, and which
Yeah.
benzos don't have the best reputation. But this is
Right.
only used for sleep. And
Mhm.
so it's not for anxiety. It has that sort of abuse potential
Mhm.
some of these shorter acting benzos have had. And so it's
Mhm.
a risk to bring that back on the market. But we saw the clinical unmet need. Again, it comes back to what problem is not being solved out there in the clinical world. And in this case, there are a lot of patients that have insomnia that aren't getting the results that they need from the current medications. And so choice is needed, similar to that with our pain portfolio.
Mhm.
Healthcare providers need more choice because what's working doesn't for one person doesn't work for everybody. And that's the forgotten, again, as to your point about the margin is dictating a
Mhm.
bigger pharma companies
Right. Is it viable? The question is margin, not efficacy.
or patient need, right?
Mhm.
Because they're just saying patient will just have to suffer and use whatever's on the market
Mhm.
and then so it's not just about rediscovering the right products, but it's also repositioning them with
Mhm.
that proper clinical story. Both Wade and myself being pharmacists, I think that helps us understand a little bit more down at that level of clinically what's more relevant for this product that may have gotten missed in the past with some of these companies, and it's all there in the label that the FDA has approved, but it just wasn't utilized to be maximized to address a niche or clinical needs that the patients may have. So I think that's important.
I think you're doing a service in rebuilding trust to the providers, who can tell them, wait, we have a generic drug that's been reawakened by Galt Pharmaceuticals that's going to be suitable for you at a very affordable price. And they say, you're looking out for me, provider. The insurance company's not going to argue with me. I'm not going to get the terrible surprise that they want $1,000 from me at the pharmacy counter or whatever that happens. And so that provider is now more trusted in their patient population. And so that's a beneficial side effect of working with Galt Pharmaceuticals and the franchisees is your patient population is going to see that you care about them. You're giving them tools to help them manage whatever medical challenge they're facing affordably, thoughtfully, not just profit driven.
And I think that's the trust that we have to establish first is with that healthcare provider, right? They're the ones that have that trust with the patient. And then
Mhm.
that builds over time. And
Mhm.
then our model differs because we don't go after 200 healthcare providers in a particular territory. We'll
Mhm.
focus in on 20 or 30 or 40 that are really willing to work. We'll visit them weekly, which gives us the ability to establish that trust because you can't do that across a wide scale of
No.
healthcare providers because we get to know everybody in that practice because they're just as important because they're the ones potentially talking to the patient on the phone with them. Yeah, and that's what a local franchisee could do because they're running their own business. If they were a
Mhm.
corporate sales rep for a pharma company, that wouldn't be allowed because they'd have to go and hit every number and check the box and report. So when entrepreneurs are involved, they have skin in the game, so they're going to do it their way.
Of course, and how that works in Arkansas versus how it works in Florida versus how it works in upstate New York, your local franchisees understand the local population and can serve them. But let's back up a little bit. So you have, I think it's 4 drugs on the market and 2 or 3 in the pipeline. Is that true?
That's right. Yeah. And like Drow, like I said, Drow was the first product. And then we added on Norgesic, which is our non-opioid pain management product. It's a combo drug. Added on Orovig, which is oral candida infections,
Candida,
oral thrush.
that thrush.
And that's an amazing drug. It's the only drug that's once a day. And these are patients that suffer if you're on chemotherapy or have other reasons why you might be immunocompromised. You get oral thrush, and most of the medications out there are swish and swallow, and you take them 5 times a day. Whereas this is just a once a day drug. Again,
Mhm.
clinical benefits. But then,
And for the client, it's
Mhm.
manageable. I take that pill with my orange juice in the morning or whatever it looks like.
Yeah.
It's not a constant application throughout the day.
That's right. And so we try to look for, again, those clinical needs that are there. And with our pipeline, we're expanding some of the indications for our current products as well as looking at new products that gotten forgotten. Again, the same
Mhm.
philosophy. We've got a product in our a migraine product in our pipeline. Again, migraines are some things that there's so many sufferers and not one thing works for everybody. So the patients just need choice, the healthcare providers. So we explore areas like that, not just for, okay, what's going to make us some money to be a
Mhm.
me too out there and bring another product out. It's really to address a clinical need.
Another thing that I think creates trust in the provider side of your equation is these drugs have a long history. And
Hmm.
I mentioned to you, my mom is 90 and she's on all these medications. And her first resistance to take anything new that's prescribed is how does it work with this dozen of things that I'm already taking? And the medications that you revive have a long history.
Yeah.
It's not going to be so complicated or so difficult to understand. Will it work with these other things that you are taking? And you
Hmm.
can find the answer to that rather than, hi, guinea pig, swallow this and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be the guinea pig. You
Right.
don't want to do that. So 17 states have franchisees, but you're approved in all 50 and you have a maximum franchise universe of about 500, but
Mhm.
you're at around 10% of that number, a little better than 10%. And
Yeah.
so this is a ground floor opportunity, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah, we're expanding our footprint slowly, but more deliberately. We need the right franchisee because eventually they're becoming partners with us. The biggest thing, as you had mentioned right at the beginning, compliance is a huge issue within pharma. We
Mhm.
bring into our system has to be willing to play by the playbook, the compliance
Mhm.
part, get the
Mhm.
training, certification, and then
Mhm.
look in their market to see what relationships they already have and what they can build. And just
Mhm.
like with any business, it takes work ethic, a willingness to really to work
Mhm.
hard or hire the right people that will work with you. So yeah, so we want to make sure that we get the right people. And that's maybe why we've been slow in
Mhm.
expanding, but I think the more successes that we're having, we have great testimonials from our franchise owners. who have great testimonials from their independent pharmacy partners, who have great testimonials from their patients at the end of the day.
Provide. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as that groundswell happens, then it's just going to naturally build. And we do have some people out there helping to educate and provide business development as it relates to our franchise
Mm.
system. So they'll have conversations with them to go through an application process, almost an interview, and then seeing who's right. Because, like I said, it's healthcare. We got to be very careful with the types of folks that we have come through our doors,
Of
not just,
course. Apart from having you guys figure out drugs that will fill a pocket of the market that's not being served for patients, for providers, you've turned your attention to a franchise model that will work. And you have the goal of eventually having active franchisees in all 50 states. So you've got the sign off from the regulators and all of that. You've created a playbook that makes sense. You have a dashboard they can check in on. You have compliance training, but also the business training to help people make friends and influence providers who say, oh, there's Sally, and she's bringing us these affordable solutions that our patients love. And Sally's not getting in the door because she bought them a steak dinner.
yeah,
She's getting in the door because of she's creating a trusted environment with
right.
everyone. She's going back to the days of old where people cared about patients. And that was part of the driving force of the effort.
Right, that's
Mhm.
exactly right. The patient, and I told you a story earlier, it's about our oral thrush drug. It went off the market and it wasn't
Mhm.
available. And we got a call from a mother in North Carolina.
Mhm.
Her son's paraplegic and can't take anything really normally through the typical oral
Mhm.
thrush medications, which require you to rinse and swallow. And this drug went off the market, and she was so thankful that we brought it back. She wanted to give us a testimonial and had our whole team listen to how happy she was. She was almost in tears that her son was now able to not have to suffer from oral thrush because of that. That's just one example of a story. There's so many with our pain portfolio too that they've tried everything, and these are the only products that actually work for them, that keep them functional. And that's the biggest thing with pain management. If you don't
Yes.
take something, you're going to be non-functional. If you take something that gives you severe side effects, it's going to make you non-functional. So those are the types of testimonials we get on that. And again, that's just the groundswell that kind of creates that continuous momentum for our growth and that's probably the most satisfying thing for Wade and myself, is that we see it to flourish, and the risks that we take as entrepreneurs. At the end of the
Yes.
day, we know that somebody's getting value from it, even if it's one patient.
Patient-centric considerations sounds like marketing speak, but it actually happens at Galt Pharmaceuticals. You're actually doing it. I wanted to mention something else apart from the growth and this franchise model. As you're refining and improving the franchise model, you made a really big decision. There's a story about ice cream machines at McDonald's, and it's one of the franchise horror stories that everybody wants, especially in the hot weather, to come in and get ice cream from McDonald's. And they famously break down the machines. And
Mhm.
in the franchise agreement, you can only have this $1,400 provider come out and fix it. And so franchise owners were going to Home Depot with a parts list that was mysteriously available on the internet and
Mhm.
fixing their own ice cream machines
Yeah.
so that it wasn't a week to get it back up. It was a couple hours to get it back up so that their clients would get ice cream, their customers. And that's a violation of the franchise. So I don't want to be in a rigged system as a franchise owner where I'm competing with myself and making it harder myself. The big decision that you made that I want to compliment you for is you mentioned that most drugs are distributed from 3 distributors nationwide. But if I was a franchise owner in your Galt franchise situation, and the distributor has already sent all that drugs that I'm offering out to the providers that I'm working with, I'm competing with myself. And so you turned off the big normal distribution system from the
Right.
big 3 providers, and now I exclusively get to make these available. And
Right.
so a giant win is like sending me the parts for my ice cream machine so that I can hurry up and get ice cream out the door on a hot Saturday afternoon
Right.
instead of making me wait for the $1,400 vendor to come. So
Right.
you are making decisions that are pro franchisee,
Mhm.
pro patient, pro provider, pro franchisee, cats and dogs living together. What's happening with the world?
I know. First of all, just on the McDonald's. My wife calls ahead now to make sure that the ice cream machine's working. She loves the soft.
That's how well known the problem is, not yet
Yes.
solved, by the way, but
You
yes.
have to. But yeah, it was a tough decision because most pharma companies, not pretty much all pharma companies, distribute through the big three wholesalers because it's the easy button, right? It's going to get
Correct.
to every pharmacy.
Mhm.
And we, because I have made that decision to go more narrow to smaller independent pharmacies that are going to work with our providers, with our patients, we decided to not go that route. Yes, did we possibly leave a lot of money on the table by not going those routes because when they buy, they put it on their shelves, we get revenues. But for us, we wanted to make it much more of a specialty way to
Mhm.
get the product out to the pharmacies and to the patients eventually. And our franchisees understand that. There were some franchisees at the beginning said, why isn't this available at Walgreens or CVS? Once they then understood that these pharmacies are going to have a higher chance of success for their business in making
Yes.
sure the patient gets the drug, then now they understand that's the
Well,
importance.
I think you think about going into like the bourbon places in Kentucky or the tequila places in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and you're like, you have the good stuff in the back. Where's the good stuff? I want that top shelf gold label or whatever. You are making the good stuff available to your provider population, not through wholesalers. It's not available at Costco or at Walmart. We got the good stuff for you, and you make it available to your patients. Now the provider is more valuable to their patient population, and the
Mhm.
entrepreneur is more valuable than they could just go to Walmart and get it. And
Right.
so that is so patient centric, so franchisee centric. It is counter to the way Big Pharma has done in the past. And so it's a wonderful disruption. And I saw a news report this week. 30,000 employees at Oracle got an email from HR saying, you're no longer needed at the firm. Here's your severance package. So AI and other things are causing huge disruption in white collar employment.
Mhm.
And some of those people should be Galt franchisees.
Mhm.
Some of those people might say, I'm done working for this giant Oracle company or other big companies. And these disruptions happen in marketplaces. It's not the first time industries have been disrupted, but you have some very bright people that are suddenly available. So, how do you screen people? Because not everybody is the right person. They have to have a background that allows for compliance. How do you screen people for this opportunity?
The best time for anybody to start a business of their own is obviously during chaos. And so there's a lot of chaos out there in the big industries, more
Mhm.
specific in the pharma industry. So Oracle has that, but there's been a lot of pharma companies that have let go of their sales reps. And those are, and medical device companies too.
Mhm.
And those are actually to how do you screen them? Those are perfect candidates for our particular opportunity because they already know healthcare providers, they know how to market, they know how to promote, they know how to educate. So screening is a little bit easier for those types that come in with that experience. But the other, I would say, just as the same example you gave about a cold email going out to 30,000 Oracle employees, there are emails that go out all the time to independent pharmacies, small community independent pharmacies from the PBMs, the insurance companies saying, hey, you're out of our network, or hey, we're changing your reimbursement because you don't give us enough volume, or whatever that, or we're going to claw back some money. So
Yes.
those are, they're just as frustrated. It's just like getting a letter saying that
Of
you
course,
need
this
to go.
revenue opportunity just dried up. Thanks for playing.
That's
Well,
right.
what did I do? Yeah.
And so they all they've been doing is serving patients for years and years, and these are family businesses sometimes. So a lot of our franchisees actually come from that world too, independent
Mhm.
pharmacy owners. And so screening, when you're talking about screening, how do we screen? We look for those that have been in healthcare, have been serving patients, now
Mhm.
can start a complementary business separately,
Mhm.
a sales organization to
Yeah,
support
it's a new
pharmacy.
revenue line.
Yes,
A
that's right.
new revenue line. It gives them also a reason to reach out to providers
That's right. Through a
that they
different
otherwise wouldn't
avenue.
have. Are you sending your people to my pharmacy? And by the way, we have things available for you.
Yes, and it's a separate business from a compliance standpoint. Their business is to really promote the pharmaceuticals one side as a pharmacy. They run their
Mhm.
pharmacy as a pharmacy. But
Mhm.
yes, it's an
Mhm.
extra way to help their pharmacy business
Mhm.
survive because now they've got another business in their area that they can support.
It's the opposite of the letter from HR. We're going to create revenue for you. This is a value add to your pharmacy, your business, but also to the customers that you see in the pharmacy and to the people that, the providers that refer people to your pharmacy.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Look,
that's a
and then it
win.
goes back to that trust thing that we started with. The community independent pharmacy is a beacon of trust a lot of times, especially in these rural areas. And for them to be able to now also engage in a different type of business that is also trustworthy and
Mhm.
making sure that healthcare providers are connected, it meets that need too that we have.
And I would think that in your network of entrepreneurial minded franchise owners, when word comes out that this drug is back on the market, like the Thrush drug, you can get the word out to providers. You can
Mhm.
get the word out to pharmacy franchisees. Hey,
Yes.
guess what? If you're on chemotherapy and your provider said, I wish I could give you this, it's back. It's like old Coke instead of that terrible new Coke. Old Coke is back.
That's it. Didn't take
So
long for the new Coke to go away
yeah,
without.
the new code came and went. Okay, galtfranchise.com, galtrx.com. Those are good ways for people to find you. And if you're considering a franchise opportunity and you're willing to be in a highly regulated environment, check out this opportunity. This is literally the ground floor, and patients win and providers win, and an entrepreneur wins when we disrupt these industries for the benefit of the net user. Those things survive. So thanks for you and Wade being so brave to strike out and do this, and for making these kind of lost drugs found again.
Thank you. And thank you for that. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to really talk about it. And
Mhm.
hopefully we can meet some new people, but
Yeah,
regardless, hopefully people hear a little bit more about how trust can be rebuilt back into the
yeah.
community within healthcare.
That's wonderful. So go patients, and thanks for the work that you and Wade are doing. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you all next time.